For a long time in our schools, there was only one story, that the first humans arrived in the Americas around 13,000 years ago. They were hunters, supposedly following massive mammoths from north to south through thick sheets of ice. This was considered the truth, repeated for generations, and declared the final word on history. This theory was called the Clovis theory. In the 1930s, some sharp stone points found in New Mexico, dubbed Clovis points, suggested these were the first people to settle in America. These tools were so sharp that scientists were convinced no one else was here before them. The evidence of humanity's first presence in America was believed to start and end right there. But as time went on, hints began to surface that shook the very foundations of this theory. Deep in the jungles of South America, in the remote mountains of Brazil, there's a place called Serra da Capivara. On the walls of its caves, paintings and marks were discovered, some looking like human footprints. The carbon dating of these images and rocks revealed secrets that truly shocked historians. Because these paintings were more than 25,000 years old. That's thousands of years before Clovis. If this was true, then the Clovis people weren't first. Someone else was. Some group who didn't come by ice, but perhaps by sea routes, or from a completely different direction. They were artists, hunters, and maybe even a forgotten branch of civilization. And that's not all. Beneath the ocean, where it's deep water today, mysterious structures have also been found. Near Cuba, on the seabed, walls and formations that look man-made have been discovered. Things that existed when the sea level was much lower than it is now. The question arises, were these civilizations that were swallowed by the ocean? And are they unseen chapters of the first human settlements in America? Now, the question isn't just whether Clovis was first or not. The question is, was history deliberately told to us incompletely? Were some facts suppressed to create a simpler story? Or have we always just been told what was acceptable, and anything else was dismissed as imagination? At the end of this chapter, all we truly know is this. The truth about who first stepped foot on American soil is probably still hidden in layers of earth, in cave walls, and in the depths of the ocean. But one thing is clear, those footprints may have been erased, but their existence still lives on as a question in our eyes. Serra da Capivara, the caves that are outside the history books, the northeastern part of South America, where the Brazilian state of Piauí is today. That's where you'll find dry forests, red dirt, and plateaus full of rocks. In this desolate land, hardly anyone would imagine that some of the oldest stories of human history could be hidden here. But tucked away in these lonely valleys is Serra da Capivara National Park, a place that has forced historians worldwide to rethink everything. Thousands of images are carved onto the walls of the caves here. Some show animals, deer, monkeys, birds. Others show people, shooting arrows, dancing, performing rituals. And the most astonishing thing? These images aren't just art, they're testimonies. They're proof of human life, their consciousness, their beliefs, and when they were actually in the Americas. When these paintings were scientifically carbon dated, the results were astonishing. Some of the images were found to be 25,000 to 30,000 years old. This immediately raises a bold question. If this is true, how could Clovis have been first? Researcher Dr. Nida Guidon, who has been overseeing Serra da Capivara for decades, believes that humans arrived in the Americas at least 30,000 years ago, maybe even earlier. But for a long time, her research was ignored by mainstream historians because her theory didn't fit the accepted history that was already written in the books. It's not just paintings that were found in these caves. There's also ash from hearths, compost-like remains, and signs of fire, indicating that these weren't just travelers, but a settlement. That means people lived here for generations. This isn't just a story of hunters, it's the history of a civilization, one that was suppressed. So, the question isn't whether something was found in Serra da Capivara or not. The question is, why did we keep denying it? Is it because this story doesn't fit with the idea of European colonialism, which claimed that the New World was first discovered by European civilization? Or is it because we're afraid to change history once we've accepted it? Serra da Capivara isn't just a cave, it's a mirror. one that shows us our own biases. It tells us that the truth isn't always written in books. Sometimes it's carved on rocks in a forgotten forest, waiting for someone to read it. The sunken world. Was there a world before the Ice Age? Most stories of human civilization start on land, in caves, forests, or deserts. But there are some stories that aren't buried beneath the ground, but rather under the ocean. These are stories that no history book tells us, because they were never even recorded in history. We've been told that after the Ice Age, as glaciers melted, sea levels slowly rose. Many coastal areas were flooded, and along with them, the settlements that once thrived there. But if these were settlements, whose were they? And why is their existence still so hard for us to accept? Near Cuba, about 700 meters deep underwater, a mysterious structure has been found. It has parallel stone walls, stair-like shapes, and huge stones that look like they were deliberately placed by someone. Scientists and sonar scans tell us these aren't natural rocks, but structured constructions. Similarly, near Japan's Yonaguni Island, a massive structure called the Yonaguni Monument has been discovered underwater. Stones cut in straight lines, stairs, platforms. Everything looks like it could have been an ancient city, now swallowed by the sea. Debate continues about it. Some scientists call it a natural formation, but others believe it's man-made. Now the question arises, if all these structures were truly built by humans, then what was their time period? The answer could be shocking. Even before the Ice Age. That means 10,000 to 20,000 years ago, when sea levels were many meters lower than they are today. This gives birth to a new idea. Did humans build civilizations not just on land, but also on ancient coastlines? Could it be that humanity's knowledge of the sea, navigation skills, and social structures are far older than we realize? And if this is true, then the stream of history we call the beginning of civilization, perhaps it was flowing from somewhere else and much earlier. So just imagine, couldn't it be that humanity's oldest memories, its earliest discoveries, its most ancient cities, are now buried in the silent depths of the ocean? The most mysterious part of this chapter isn't whether someone was there, but rather why did we ignore this possibility for so many years? The echo of DNA. When Asian, Australian, and American lineages converge, every historical wall, every book, every belief can be changed by time. But DNA is a testimony that cannot be erased. It flows through generations, within veins, in the molecules of bones, and right before the eyes of today's most modern science. We were told that the first humans in America came from Asia, crossing the icy Bering Land Bridge from Siberia. This theory was straightforward, clear, and convenient. But when scientists went deep into DNA and analyzed it, they found markers that complicate this simple story. Some indigenous tribes in South America have genes that match ancient tribes from Australia and Melanesia. Yes, the same Australia, which is in a completely different direction from Asia. This discovery shocked anthropologists worldwide. How is it possible that tribes living deep in America have DNA similar to Australian Aborigines? Did they come by sea routes? Did they undertake thousands of miles of ocean voyages, even when we thought they didn't even know how to sail? And that's not all. Ancient skeletons found in parts of America, like Brazil's Luzia woman, have skull structures that also match African or Australoid lineages, not Asian origins as the Clovis theory suggests. Now scientists are asking just one question. Did humans arrive in America from only one direction? Or was this land a crossroads, where lineages from different parts of the world converged? DNA tells us that there wasn't just one human group in America, but several different waves of people arrived. Some via icy bridges, some perhaps by sea, some aboard boats, and some by a path we still don't understand today. History books used to say, only one migration. But DNA whispers, there were many voices in history, and many paths too. Perhaps this is why many archaeological discoveries like Serra da Capivara, or submerged structures, or skeletons of unknown lineages, haven't found a place in mainstream history. Because when the roots of truth run very deep, to recognize them, you need not just open eyes, but an open heart and open science, both. The truth of the false discovery. How ancient civilizations were erased in the quest to be first. 1492. Christopher Columbus's sea voyage, still called the discovery of the New World in the Western world. Discovery of America. This phrase echoes in schoolbooks, celebrations, and every corner of history. But did anyone ever ask, can a land be discovered where people already live? When Columbus arrived in America, millions of people already lived there. They had their own languages, their own gods, their own cities, and their own knowledge. The Maya, Inca, Aztec, the roots of these great civilizations stretch back thousands of years. But European history summarized this entire presence in one phrase: primitive natives. Why? Because the discoverer's glory only comes alive when the land appears empty. Only when the old ink of history is erased can a new story be written. And that's exactly what happened. The observatories of the Maya civilization, the stone roads of the Inca, the mounds of the Hopewell tribes, all of these were either destroyed or dismissed as natural formations. Because if it had been accepted that developed civilizations already existed here, then Columbus and those who came after him being discoverers would become a lie. This is where the practice of writing history as a weapon began. The indigenous people of America were labeled as crazy, savage, and uncivilized. Their lands were seized, their temples burned, and their stories were cut from history. But can any story truly be erased? Today, as archaeologists are discovering new skeletons, cities, and tools, as DNA and submerged civilizations bring new evidence, history is asking again, was the real discovery truly what we were told? Or was the real crime erasing someone else's discovery? This chapter represents one of history's deepest wounds. Because here, not just civilizations were erased, identities were erased, languages were erased, memories were erased. And then it was called a discovery. The final question: if it was all a lie, what's the truth? History isn't a straight line. It's a complex puzzle where some pieces were deliberately hidden, some were erased, and some voices were simply never heard. Now, as we look at the walls of Serra da Capivara, where 30,000-year-old human paintings exist, as we gaze at structures submerged in the ocean's depths, as we hear the vibrating echoes of DNA, a meeting of Australian, African, and American lineages, and as we confront the truth of that discovery that wiped out thousands of civilizations, we have to ask, if all of that was a lie, then what's the truth? The truth is, humanity's story is far older, more diverse, and more astonishing than we ever imagined. The truth is, humans came to America not just from one path, but from many directions, by ice, by sea, through forests, on boats, and perhaps by routes beyond our wildest imagination. The truth is also, history isn't just a list of dates and kings. It's the dust of footprints, the dreams seen in eyes, and the voices that history tried to suppress. But the deepest truth is, we are no longer just discoverers. We are no longer just observers. We have become reconnectors. We are putting back together the pieces that someone broke, burned, or hid. This chapter, this entire story, doesn't just change the way we look at the past, it gives us a chance to truly live the future. So now, the final question isn't just who was first. Instead, it's, now that you know the truth, can you still believe the lie? History doesn't change, but those who understand it can.